Welcome to Preikschas Point of View. Mr. Paul Preikschas is a candidate for Ward 10 in the City of Mississauga's October 27th municipal election. Today, Paul shares his concerns about various issues regarding rail safety concerns in the City of Mississauga. Paul, why should residents of Ward 10 and the broader community of Mississauga be concerned about railway safety?
As we've seen in the past, most notably for Mississauga in November 1979, when the city was evacuated and became a virtual ghost town, the city was evacuated from a deadly threat of chlorine gas escaping from a derailed train. Every day, hundreds of thousands of toxins and hazardous products are shipped through Mississauga by rail, truck, and pipeline.
Well then, who's ultimately responsible for railway policy and programs and procedures in Canada?
With almost 50,000 kilometers of track, Canada has one of the largest rail networks in the world. As transportation is a national issue, the federal government sets the regulation, the standards, and programs through Transport Canada to make our railway system safe, secure, accessible, competitive, and environmentally responsible. Local railway companies fall directly under the authority of the Railway Safety Act when operating on federally regulated railway lines. When dangerous good accidents and incidents occur, response teams from the railway companies, the chemical industry, and local public security agencies work quickly to mitigate any damage, but local emergency services will always be one of the first responders.
Well, and where does Mississauga come into play with reference to railway policy and procedures to basically protect our concerns and our interests, our homes, and the safety of the residents of Mississauga?
The truth is that the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has created the National Municipal Rail Safety Working Group, which is working with the federal government on rail safety issues. That being said, it's difficult for individual municipalities to dive into the federally regulated industry. What we can do locally, as residents of Ward 10, we can make sure that our municipal government has a comprehensive plan in place to deal with these emergencies as they arise. My neighbors and I need to know what to do in an emergency. More importantly, we need to know where potential emergency evacuation centers are in Mississauga and what the possible routes are out of the city.
So what do you know about the different type of commercial trains that are traveling through Mississauga on a regular basis?
Less than 20 meters from my home in the north end of Ward 10, toxic and hazardous products are shipped on a regular basis. On my website, I have posted some of my research. One document in particular shows that CN Rail has current pricing codes for 27 pages of products, and many of these are hazardous and toxic products. It is very easy to conclude that if they have a pricing code for that product, that they are shipping that product. Rail cars are identified by a 4-letter company code, for example PPRX, and a 6-digit car identifier code, something like 661313. Without seeing the detailed rail manifest, we can only guess a type of crude oil being transported. But after some research, I found that tank cars you see in the video are owned by ConocoPhillips, which produce, transport, and market crude oil. Natural gas, natural liquid gas, liquefied natural gas, and bitumen. Crude oil is classified as sweet and sour. And either type will contain crude oil as the main component, but it also can have naphthalene, benzene, and hydrogen sulfide, all of which have different concentrations within the sweet and the sour types. But the sour type have a higher concentration of toxicity, meaning more hydrogen sulfide, which is very flammable, toxic, hazardous to the environment.
Well, you mentioned of interest to me is ConocoPhillips. As I know, ConocoPhillips is an American-based company, so I'm just wondering, in Canada, are there different rules and regulations for Canadian-based railway organizations shipping across, say, Mississauga, vis-a-vis, say, international corporations such as ConocoPhillips? Like, do they have any preferential treatment, or are they all grouped the same?
They're pretty much all grouped the same. We have very few national railway carriers, but they all travel on the same regulated lines. So when a product comes in from another country, it has to follow the rules of that country when being shipped. And it's the responsibility of everyone that takes possession of that product, from the original manufacturer to the first transportation company through to the final destination, they all take responsibility for transporting of those goods.
Right. So what do you believe is the single most important plan of action that needs to be taken to address the safety regarding our railways in Mississauga?
We need to take a serious look at the current resources and emergency plans of the city of Mississauga and make sure that we can actually handle those types of emergencies. I have read the city of Mississauga's emergency plan, and it really doesn't tell me anything on how it would actually help me in an emergency. We actually need to look at whether other municipalities are doing. For example, the city of Brampton has a community volunteer program that are trained to help in emergency situations. And if elected on October 27th, I will actually push for a similar program to help prepare Ward 10 for any upcoming emergency.
Wouldn't it make sense, since Mississauga is the sixth largest municipality in Canada, that it should have a comprehensive railway safety plan in place?
Well, you would think so, but one of the problems that we have is the railway companies and the industries involved do not want to share any information of what's actually being shipped. Because they keep saying it's security concerns. They don't want terrorists attacking the trains and things like that. But in most cases, most rail accidents have occurred not through terrorist links, but through mismanaged maintenance agreements, through derails, through people on the tracks, animals on the tracks, buses on a track that have caused the accidents to happen.
Right. So if you were elected to council, what would your priority be regarding rail safety for the residents of Ward 10 and Mississauga?
We really need to ensure that the federal and industrial policies and regulations address the safety concerns with the municipalities. Rail incidents at the local level can have a significant impact on public safety, the economy, and the environment. We also have to ensure that Transport Minister Raitt follows through on the new safety measures in response to the TDSB recommendations from April 23, 2014. Most importantly, that the emergency response assistance plans are now required for all shipments of crude oil, ethanol, gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, and that they are made available to the local municipalities and first responders, and that any new emergency response task force, including the municipalities' first responders, will take additional recommendations to improve emergency response capability in our communities.
Finally, why is it important for local government, the federal government, and railway industry to work together to improve railway safety?
In Canada, our busiest rail corridor is from Quebec City to Windsor. It's highly populated areas, and since transportation is a federal matter, the federal government must include the municipal governments and the municipal concerns in any risk assessment and policy making. Local governments and authorities must be involved as partners in this emergency planning with the railways and the federal agencies. At the local level, rail incidents can have a significant impact on public safety, the economy, and the environment. We must make sure that we are equipped and support our first responders to these rail emergencies, first by knowing what the dangerous goods are being transported through our community, but also what we need to deal with when an emergency may arise. Secondly, by making sure we try to eliminate any local level crossings to help avoid vehicle-train collisions.
Very good. Thank you, Paul, for sharing with us details about rail safety here in Mississauga.
Great, thank you.
If you require further information about Preikschas Point of View, contact Paul directly at 647-606-4740. You can also email Paul at ward10mississauga.com or visit the website www.ward10mississauga.com or follow Paul on Twitter at Paul Preikschas. Stay tuned to YouTube for further segments of Preikschas Point of View.